they have the best.
That is true.
Apparently not.
All right, Loco Vocals. When was the first show you did here?
10 years ago. Decade ago, right?
Almost.
Almost a decade.
Was it like 9 years? I don't know.
9 years ago? We'll say 9
Was it a two-man show? What were you guys?
Well, I mean, yeah, he was a part of it.
Were you part of it? You guys were in the same show together?
You betcha.
We were part of Harmonology.
Oh, Harmonology was not your first show.
Harmonology was not my first show.
No.
No, my first show was back in
but
97.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So that's
But
20 years ago.
20 years.
Okay.
It was a format similar to what Local Vocals did. So
Yes. That was really
I remember
the catalyst
Harmonology.
for Local Vocals, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you say?
I would say, I think
I've still
Jenny and Cheryl saw it and we're like, oh, that'd be fun to sing with them.
I've still got a Harmonology 2 button, I'll have you know.
Yes.
With your face on it.
Yeah, that's worth keeping.
Yeah, I'm going to bring it to the new theater, encased in wood, you know, so it could be hung properly.
Mine's encased in something.
Oh man, look at this crew here. Wow.
Yeah, we're looking sharp, aren't we? Woo! We've got those new donor boards up from InterQuest in the lobby at the new place, and this pops up and it's like, coming up New Year's Eve, and like, wow.
Why does Cheryl have a yarmulke?
She's Jewish.
There's a reason.
Oh wait,
We're missing Carlson because he rejoined the group, and now we got to figure out how to Photoshop him in.
If you look really close, his face is in one of those bushes.
the audio is not though. Oh, it is. Okay, so welcome to the pre-show. Thanks for the heads up, Ninja. We could edit some of that out,
I
right?
didn't know we did a pre-show. Is there?
He's doing a sweep. Nice.
I think you should put his face in.
It's time now for today's community comment, live from the old Beaver Community Theater. Here is your host, Greg Warmbold.
Well, thank you very much, and good afternoon. Welcome to Community Comment, as Cale said, live from the old Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. Is that
kind of breaks the heart a little bit, but yeah, we're excited to be moving to the new community theater very shortly.
Is it? Can we call this the old community theater yet? Is there still programming going on here?
We can't call it old quite yet. We've got a children's theater camp coming January.
Okay, all right.
So it was a little too much pressure to try to get everything up and functional in the other building, trust me. So we're just going to hold that here yet, and then after that, we can call this the old building. But we'll still be in here for quite a while because we've got so much stuff to move.
Do you?
If we could take this camera and like show all the nooks and crannies, which is like a 5-hour episode, and we've got like every nook and cranny
Something that needs to be done.
filled to the brim of stuff.
Now this is David Sneeder. He is the managing director of the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater here. You've been with the organization for about a decade now, right?
Yes, actually, April 2019. It'll be 10 years.
April of, and you've
Yep.
you've spent
I
all
think
that
so.
time.
I think because I don't have a gold watch or anything, so that.
I'm not on the board anymore, so I don't control that type of thing. But most of that time has been spent right here in this building. Your offices have been here in this building, right?
Yes, actually, Net Camps had this position before I did, and she was also the executive director for the Beaver Dam Arts Association. So we shared an office when it was split between myself and Carla Jensen up at the Seipel Arts Center for quite a while. So that was a little bit tricky because there was always so much stuff happening at the theater, and then I was aloof all by myself, alone at that office. So
There's a lot of traveling back and forth. It sounds like.
yes,
Just
yes.
to come back to this oh, look who's here. It's Roger Knowles here. Well, hi Roger, how are you? Getting
We'll
easily
have
distracted
celebrities
today.
walking in throughout the whole show. So,
Local
yep.
historian Roger Knoll, everyone, waiting in the wings, sitting in one of the chairs that he brought to the community theater. How many years ago was it, Roger? 18 years ago. He personally drove to Alaska, I believe is the story. Was it Alaska, Alabama? Kansas City. I was close.
I don't know.
Kansas City, Kansas, to
The
bring these
story
chairs
does
back.
get better every time I hear it, though. But no, it was a lot of work.
There are going to be new chairs in the new Fine Arts Center.
Yes, they're already in. Very comfortable. I've been testing each and every seat out myself, making sure the quality control is good.
And so that's why Roger's here with a wrench. He's taking his old chairs back so that he can have him for sitting. And I have yet to introduce, a veteran of the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater who is here promoting, he's right this way. No, I'm kidding. He's here promoting the first show at the Fine Arts Center.
The big first show.
Yeah.
Yep. What is that, Rick?
The big first show will be, what is it? New Year's Eve with local vocals.
Wow.
That's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy.
Loco.
It's going to be wild. It's
Loco.
going to be local.
Yeah,
It's going to be fun.
That's 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. on New Year's Eve?
Yeah.
I don't even know what, we start at 9, I believe.
Is
right?
it a 9 o'clock
9
start?
to 12:30.
Most shows end at 9 here.
I have to say, usually by 9 o'clock, I'm starting to be like, all right, time to call it a day. So yes, I'm going to have some caffeine before we go on.
Well, you are the very important timekeeper in the Loco Vocals. This is a drummer of the Loco Vocals in addition to being the managing
Yeah,
director.
people will be wondering, like, oh, I didn't think that song was a slow song, but it was. It's a ballad, huh?
So, Rick, how long have you been performing at the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater?
I started back in 1997
Wow.
with an original show, Any Color You Like, so long as it's black.
Is that Annette Camps
It was
that wrote
Annette
that?
Camps.
Okay.
You bet.
All right. And what do you remember from that first show?
Oh man, what I remember a lot from that show. I was in college in Fond du Lac at Marion back then, and I saw a flyer up for an original production down in Beaver Dam, and I thought, hey, I'm a college kid, I got nothing else to do in the summer. So I drove back down here and auditioned, they gave me a part, and yeah, after graduating I moved down here. It was worth it.
You didn't have your college
most
summer job?
Well, I did, but
Oh, who remembers that?
who remembers that? I didn't
What?
need that job, I needed to perform.
That's right. And I've got you beat. My first show in this building was 1993.
93?
93, yes, Oliver the musical. First time I met Don Gasner.
Oh, that's memorable.
That is something
Yes.
to keep
So
in
if you
mind.
don't know Don Gasner, he is a performer, awesome performer. He makes people stand up and give an ovation before the show is done when he's singing. But when you're the drummer trying to follow him, he takes a lot of liberties with when he comes in or how long he holds the note. And we're up in the pit there with like 50 other people in a 8-foot square area, and just like waiting for Don Gasner to give his. Because
performance.
he would yell up there, it's like, remember, Pitt, that the orchestra follows the vocalist. I'm like, okay, Don.
93, 97.
Well, actually, 93, I called him Mr. Gasner. Now I can call him Don.
Called
but-
Don.
Yes.
In the orchestra, I don't know if the video can pan up there. Let's show the orchestra pit if we can. Usually you would pan the camera down, but not at the Beaver Dam Area Community
Yes, the
Theater.
orchestra pit here is upstairs. But at the new BDACT Fine Arts Center, we will actually have a real pit. Yes, you can
below
throw
the stage.
food down there and whatever to the musicians. We're down below.
Tomatoes.
Yes.
They won't throw them back out because, well, there may be a cover on it, right?
You have a sneeze guard,
No.
if I'm not
the sneeze
mistaken,
guard is there.
essentially.
We won't throw it back out because we'll probably be like, oh, good. They're feeding us.
With fruit.
Hungry musicians.
So that orchestra pit is smaller than my second bathroom.
Yeah, it's a pretty small area up there. I remember I had to bring as small of a drum kit as possible, and the keyboard was over the top of my floor tom, so I had to be careful how I was playing. And then the flute player had her flute above, well, I don't know how you hold a flute.
Fortunately, it's video, so you won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was above the keyboard player, and we just really crammed in there. And we had to kind of line up the steps like, okay, Rick goes first, then Craig, then Dave. And this pit at the BDACT Fine Arts Center is just going to be such a luxury. It's going to be so much bigger. And it actually has a lift going down there.
Oh, wow.
So we were required to have a lift going up to the stage for any performer that has ADA needs. And so by the time we were going to put that in, it's not going to cost that much more to dig in a pit, so let's do that right away. It's going to cost a whole lot more to try to add something like that later.
And you could fit like a full orchestra in the orchestra pit?
Yes, it's very similar in size to the one at the high school, and actually probably a little bit bigger.
Handicap accessibility is a big part of the move from this location to the new Fine Arts Center. Just looking, we're not at grade level here. We are up a flight of stairs any
Right.
way you want to be able to get in here.
Yeah, every entryway is a whole flight of steps up.
Yeah. But back to what we were here to promote, and that's the Loco Vocals.
Oh,
and,
yes,
and Rick
the Loco
Ramirez's
Vocals.
New
appearance.
Year's Eve.
One show only?
One show only.
Okay.
You'll only get certain songs out of this show.
Okay.
We may throw them in 5-6 years from now. and pretend we never did them. But this time you only get them New Year's Eve.
So those set list keepers that meticulously write every Loco Vocal set and compare it from tour to tour.
Archival
Right.
Yeah.
local people
Sure,
will-
they-
Get our
will catch on to
autographs
it.
and things
Yes.
like that on
Yep.
them.
What, is there a theme for the Loco Vocal show on New Year's Eve?
I'd say the music that we were picking out is more dance and festive and party associated. So we're picking songs that we've done over the past 10 years of being together as a group, and picked out songs like The Twist and anything that runs the gamut. We're trying to make sure that we pick songs from 50s, 60s, earlier music. We'll be playing those more heavily in the first set, and then the second and third set as we go on will be the more modern party tunes, I guess. Just as people have a little bit more to drink and a little more festive.
A couple years ago when we did a New Year's Eve show, we weeded out some of the songs that we knew put people to sleep. So we won't be doing those.
Until
Instead, we actually learned dance songs versus it's time to go fill my beer or whatever, punch.
So, what is this new Fine Arts Center going to be like for those that want to go get some punch or to get up and move around? How many
Yeah.
seats are there? What do we need to know?
Amazing.
There are 345 seats in the new auditorium, and for that show, we'll be starting off and we'll be up on stage. There'll be room up on stage for dancing. Anybody that wants to come up, we removed the first row of seats so that people could dance in front of the stage, and so that's an option that's going to be available for those who like to dance. And then as far as food that you were talking about, in the lobby adjacent to the Camps Auditorium, that's the main auditorium at the new Fine Arts Center, there's going to be a large concession area, so that'll have drinks available there. But then for this special, it's a $35 ticket, but it includes a lot of food, and that's going to be upstairs in Encore Hall is what we're calling it. And that's a big banquet hall, basically. It can fit about 125 people, if I remember correctly. So we'll have food spread out up there. And then as the evening progresses, we'll be able to just keep the doors open, probably lights up a little bit brighter, and people can come in, come out. Interquest has done a lot with the technology in that building, so if you do want to stay out by the bar, you won't be separated from the action. We'll have a TV on in there that shows what's happening in the auditorium on stage, and speakers in the ceiling, so you can hear the band out there as well. So,
Rick's shaking his head.
That's just so much technology. It's driving me nuts. I can't believe it. It's awesome.
and we're the very first show in there, so that means we have to figure out how all that technology works before people come.
All the mistakes will happen.
Yes, so we're having a grand opening on the 29th. They're setting up for their thing on the 28th, so that means we basically have one day to all right, get your lights, your sound, all that working. Local vocals, we can do it.
Oh, New
So
Year's Eve.
it's not local like L-O-C-A-L,
No,
it's
no,
local like
local.
Spanish crazy.
Crazy local.
So yes, people take advantage of that for sure. Like
Yeah.
that group's crazy. Let's
true.
put them first.
Part of us.
Celebrate New Year's Eve with the crazy group of
Right.
vocalists,
Yes.
which is
If
the
you're gonna
direct
make
translation.
mistakes, or if you're gonna, try to get the kinks out, do it at New Year's Eve. Because after that, it's all resolution. It's doing it the right
Judy
way.
Hine.
Judy Hine.
Hey, okay. Judy. Are we going to have more people showing up just dropping in like this throughout the day?
Yes.
Well, that's
yes.
great. Fantastic.
You should just do community comment from the theater all the time.
From this, it's a little cold here sometimes,
Yes,
though.
yeah.
You got to heat
it's-
up the whole place.
Well, it's great that we're on video. I mean, usually it's so hot at the room at the station. I'm
Sweating.
That
I'm,
would be an
without a
advantage.
shirt, and So now that we have video, I had to dress up a little bit.
So we've got a lot of stuff going on, and boy, I realize I don't have a clock on me. Were we overdue for a break or anything?
It's 2:30 already.
12:48. Why don't we take a break, and we'll come back, and but before we do that, Rick, I want you to tell us one more time about Local Vocals New Year's Eve performance. You know what? I lied about a break because I got a few more questions for him because I don't want him wandering off or anything like that. So
He does that sometimes. He just kind of
I'll just disappear.
like, where did Rick go?
So where have you been rehearsing for this new show? Have you been rehearsing at the new theater?
We've not rehearsed at the new theater yet, but we've been utilizing a fantastic person's basement with or
Okay.
without his wife's permission. But Dave Sneeder's house, we've been meeting in his basement, practicing. And,
Will you have a rehearsal, a dry run in the new theater?
we're hoping to, possibly.
Yes, right, the day before. Eric Schumann, who does our sound, has actually been in there a couple times already, just testing out the sound, how he's going to configure all of that. So
Okay.
as far as us actually being in there, we hope the week before, or I guess that's next week, right after Christmas, we'll get in a couple times and work out some of that.
I stopped in there this morning and I ran into, Jay Wilkins. Just, looking up the entire time, and asking questions to people, and I'm like, hey, Jay, how's it going? Oh, they got sound, but they might not have it. But we do have sound. And then I said,
That makes
okay.
sense.
I walked away from that. I'm like, okay, that sounds good.
So it's coming
So
together
we'll
is
have
what you're
sound.
saying. It's a work in
Yes,
progress.
It is. It
But
is.
you got like 10 days for that. You've got nothing to worry about.
It's a lifetime for sound and light stuff.
Yeah.
So what is
really
this?
is.
What is this? Has this theater meant anything as a performer? Is it just another place to perform? Rick, give us what do you think of this old building? I don't know if you can see over there, but there's the backstage. It's about 2 feet long, not your typical backstage. Well, it's about 2 feet deep. It's probably 20 feet long or whatever it is. Tell us what this theater has meant to you over the years.
Honestly, for me personally, it's meant a great deal because, like I said, in '97, I came down here from Fond du Lac, knowing about Beaver Dam because I grew up in the area, but I never really followed their community theater much until that summer. But then I met some great people, Judy Hine, Jim McMillan, the Doyles, Kay Gietzel, or whatever her married name is now.
Paczynski.
Paczynski, sorry. But, I met some fantastic people that summer, which made a lasting impression on me personally. And then when I decided to move down here and still become part of this community theater, the more I stuck with this one. I also performed with Fond du Lac and some area, Madison area community theaters. None of them really touched or sparked off that interest and level of commitment that the community gave to this community theater. And that's one of the reasons, we have this great new facility is because of that support. And if that doesn't say volumes right there, I love this place. I love this old place, has so many memories, but it also makes me look forward to creating even bigger ones and better ones at that new facility. And when people see that new place, every time I walk in there, I did not have a vision for what it was gonna be, but now you see what's happening. I'm just filled with nothing but excitement, and I'm ready to rock New Year's Eve night and bring that place in and breathe some life into that stage.
Again,
And I hope I'm not the only one.
it's not a local vocal concert. It's vocals. So it's all of you and a drummer.
Right, and a drummer.
Vocals
Yeah,
and
right.
a
A few
drummer.
others, I believe. We've got the whole run of the gamut
Got
here
the
for
whole
that.
bunch of people.
And what you're talking about is is not housed by this structure. It's going to transfer over to the new building. That sense of community that would go there. What
That's right.
What are you going to lose with this building? We hear a lot about the acoustics in here. You're a vocalist. What is it like to sing in this room?
It's fantastic to sing in this room because you can do this easily unmiked if you know what projection is, projecting your voice and everything. It's an intimate setting here. You could literally jump in the laps of the people in the front,
Watch out,
front
Judy.
row. And I'm gonna try to do that at the new one, but
You'll have to jump over the
I have
orchestra
to jump
pit.
a little further over the orchestra pit, which is a good problem to have. But the intimacy of this little theater is going to be lost a little bit, and yet you go and you sit at that new place, you still see that it's such an open space, and it's still not like if you go out to the high school auditorium, which is a fantastic facility. It's huge in its volume of seats. This one seems to me, you sit on that stage and you look and they're still right there, just like this stage is. So you lose that here, but I think we will still take some of that also over there.
We'll have to cut out a little square of the floor here and take it over so we can stand on it before we go.
Every time you walk on the
That's-
stage, you rub a piece of the
That's what they do at the
old
Grand
stage.
Ole Opry. They took
Yeah,
a
great
section of the
brainstorming
Ryman
ideas.
Auditorium.
The log on, what is that?
Oh, the
Blarney
Apollo,
Stone?
the
The
Apollo
Apollo
Theater.
Barney.
The Blarney Stone, not the Barney Stone.
Oh,
That's a whole different thing. That's a documentary about Barneys and people.
Okay.
So it's the Loco Vocals. They are rocking New Year's Eve on December 31st, starting at 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
They're on the stage. So that means you're going till after midnight.
Oh, we're going till after midnight.
You're going till
You
after
betcha.
midnight at the
Yes.
Local Vocals
Even if I have
performance.
to keep Cheryl Zeman up.
Oh, Cheryl.
Wake up,
Hey,
Cheryl.
Cheryl. We're going to take a break and come back. We've got more guests filtering in from the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater's community here, and we're going to look forward to talking with all of them when we return here on Community Comment. Do.
KES 1430 WBEZ Beaver Dam. Time for a new battery. Call into the quick lane service at Countryside Ford in Columbus. No appointment necessary. Countryside Ford, 330 Transit Road across from Shopko in Columbus. Time for more of today's community comment. Back out to the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater and your host, Warmbold.
And we are video streaming live at dailydodge.com. You can also catch the audio stream there as well for those of you not able to listen on terrestrial radio or just want to chime in on the video stream live here from the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. A few more guests showed up during that first segment. And David, you said there's going to be even more people showing up throughout the course of the day?
Yeah, I think there's a couple more coming yet.
All right, fantastic. We've got Judy Hine here. Judy, thanks so much for showing up today.
Thank you, Craig.
Roger Knoll, local historian, with us in the theater as well, sitting in the very seats that you drove to Kansas City to get.
That's correct.
What was in here before?
Pews.
Pews. This was an old church.
Correct.
Well,
And they used to have little cushions that were about as uncomfortable as you could possibly imagine. I mean, there were some people that really could not come and sit in those seats because they were so uncomfortable. I remember people coming up after me afterwards and said, my mom finally got to come
Is that right? You remember, was that, you were here when the change of seats was made?
Yes, I was. I was here from the very beginning after we bought the building in '83. So I remember the changes that had happened and
Were you in South Pacific?
no, but South Pacific was that summer, but I directed the Telltale Theater downstairs that year. So the kids' show was actually the first show in this theater, but it was downstairs in the basement.
That's right. That's one of those little known. Everybody says it's South Pacific was the first show,
was.
but the
It was the
real
first main
right
stage
here
show.
on the stage.
Correct,
But the kids
yes.
You were showing off your community theater knowledge there. What was the first show
it's
at the Spring Street Theater?
It'll
That's,
be
that's impressive.
That'll be a trivia question that'll win some people some free tickets, I assume, in the new Fine Arts Center,
yeah,
right,
there's
David?
a bunch of trivia questions. So like Jay and Tori Wilkins, they made the first donation towards the new
Really, is that right?
facility.
Jay, of course,
Yep.
is a local vocal. We've been here talking about the local vocals in their New Year's Eve show. Are there tickets available for that first performance?
Yes, tickets are available now. Go online, bdact.org to pick up those tickets. Another trivia question is who bought the first set of tickets at the new facility, and that was John and Jenny Addison.
No kidding.
Some more local vocals.
So
Bought tickets to their own show.
So there are at least 343 more seats left
Yes.
in the new theater, somewhere between that and zero.
Actually, they're going pretty quick,
Mm-hmm.
so that's probably close to half sold already.
Okay, and you got another week to 10 days, but you don't want to wait.
Right,
It's reserved seating.
right, yes.
Judy was just mentioning the Telltale show being the first one here at this community theater building. We're on North Spring Street now, what will soon be the old community theater building. What opportunities are there going to be for kids in the new building? David?
Oh, I thought you had said Judy. All right, Judy was talking.
Judy, are you doing Telltale next year?
Actually, I'm not.
We actually have a children's theater camp happening, and that's registrations are taking place now, and that's going to be starting January 14th, and we've got performances on Saturday, January 19th. So it all happens in 1 week period. Students are coming after school between 4:30, 7:45. They have a break for dinner, but it's a professional group that's coming out of Chicago that leads that. So we've got professional actors coming up, working with the group of children. They did this last year. That show was called Peas in Harmony, and this year it's going to be their own rendition of Beauty and the Beast.
And that will be here at the North Spring Street Theater.
Yes, that will still be here.
So if I understand this correctly, the first show that really was ever at this theater that Judy Hine directed, the Telltale, was the kids, and the last show will be something for the kids.
That's true. That's one thing we're really looking forward to at the new facilities, expanding classes and performing opportunities for students.
Now, is there going to be a theater eventually that's dedicated just to children and children's theater?
I think it's going to just depend on what the size of the group is, and so for right now, I think we're hoping that they can just perform on the big stage, just like all the other shows. If it's a smaller class, smaller performance, we've got the Encore Hall upstairs that could also be suitable for that sort of performance.
Encore Hall's done and ready to go?
Encore Hall is done. Yep. There's just some technical things we have to build into it yet, and that's why we're doing this here. But the hall itself is finished off.
Right, that's
And elevator goes right up to that level.
And what was I think I reported it as a $3.5 million project, but I think it's a little north of that. Well, Annette Camps just walked in, and she'd probably be the better person
just a little
for this.
north of $3 million.
Oh, what? Okay, all right. So I was way off by
Yeah.
that then when I reported that all day today.
Yeah, well, it started at 2.5, so maybe that's
That's
where
what
you
I was
got,
thinking
yeah,
of,
and
yeah.
it's been inching up when you're renovating an old building. You open up walls and you get a few surprises here and there, and so that's what's been happening. And right now it's like such a hot construction time. There's so many businesses being built and schools being built. It's raised prices for construction materials as well as time to get electricians and plumbers and all the different groups in to work on the facility.
But there will be electricity and plumbing when the theater opens for the local vocal show on December 31st?
Yeah, first person to try out the bathroom was actually, no, I don't know. That's been up and running for a while. So,
So Judy, on that note, tell us about, you did the first show here with the kids in '83, and the first of many eventually that you were involved with behind the scenes and on the stage. You did a few on the stage. Tell us about some of your favorite memories of this old theater.
That's a tough one to even know where to begin. I didn't check my biography list of how many shows I'd been in here, but it's been quite a few. And one of my favorite of the 45 things that are my favorite, but one of them was I was able to do my talk variety show in Hindsight here, and both of those shows that we did were fundraisers for the new building. So even in both of those shows, I remember near the end saying, I have a very special place in my heart for this place for lots of reasons. If these walls could talk is really what I was thinking, with all the friendships and all the families and all the people that it's brought here, and people that maybe wouldn't drive or go far away to see a professionally done show can walk into these doors, through these doors, and see something that is really very well done. But one of my memories is during Godspell in '89, they rigged through that, we used to call that the baptismal font, because that's what it was. So back there they rigged a pressure system that would have holes in the floor on the stage, and canes shot out of them, so Jim McMillan and I could do a soft shoe number. And I was standing where I didn't know where they had drilled the holes, and I was standing over those holes, and then someone called my name, and I moved out of the way, and they tried the pressure, and the cane there's still a hole up in that ceiling. The cane went up into the ceiling and stuck there, and I remember thinking, divine intervention, serendipity, whatever you want to call it, but I had moved out of the way. And that show is also just absolutely one of my favorites. But
I'm surprised we haven't seen that done since that show.
Shooting
Yeah, we
canes
haven't
through
done
the
that
floor. This is in front of a live audience.
no,
a
this
cane
was during
shoots?
a rehearsal.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, but the canes really did shoot out of the floor during the performance.
And that went swimmingly. That went.
That
perfect
went
every
perfectly
time.
because
They just
that was the
Dialed the pressure back. a
yeah,
little
that
bit.
was the practice. So.
You know, so much has happened at this theater, as you were saying, that's brought the community together. Not just folks that have been on the stage, behind the scenes, those who have worked upstairs, but you know, I mean, I'm reminded of Roger and the very seats that we're sitting in right now. Roger, how many plays have you been in on the stage?
On this stage?
On this stage.
One. Two. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, I was just in one.
What were you just in?
I was Town Hall tonight.
Oh, that's right, of course. How could I forget? And that's the story of Harlow Hoyt.
Yeah, he had the lead role in that
Yeah,
one too.
you were Harlow in that one.
Yes.
What was the first one?
The first one was Tally's Folly.
I'm not familiar with that. Is that
It was a two-person show.
no pressure?
Kim Doyle. What happened was I just joined the board of directors, and I can't remember who the director was, but she couldn't find anybody to do the lead. And they were not going to have a fall production because they couldn't find anyone to do the lead. So I just said, okay, I'll do it.
And what year is this?
Gosh, I don't know.
Since post '83.
Oh yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
90s, I think.
And this is pre or post Pews?
Post. No, it was pre.
So everybody came to see your show. They were uncomfortable for some reason, and you blamed the seating and decided to have them
actually, I have to
change
tell
out all
you,
the seats.
I may have the rare distinction of starring in the show that lost the most money, and actually producing the show that lost the most money. I produced Working, and, although it was a great show, and Judy was in it. I mean, it was a great show, but
No
unfortunately,
fault of your own, Judy. For the
But I do have that distinction.
Well, I do have a story about Tally's Folly, actually, that involves the history of this building. During the performance, I was ushering, and after the show, some woman came out and she said, "I am so impressed with this theater. During that nature scene, when they're sitting, you guys are picnicking or something, there's a nature scene." She said, "You had a real bird flying around." And we all know that I call them TB for short, my theater bats, because, you know, they're here. And so that's one of my memories of Tally's Folly also.
Dave, when you sell the theater building, will the bats come with it? Is that part of the? Is this for
pretty
sale, first of
endearing.
all?
Yeah, I think we have to kick them out as renters. Unfortunately, when we sell the building, they won't be able to move over with us. We haven't seen a bat in the other facility at all during all the construction or anything.
The kids will be so disappointed.
That's good.
Are there ghosts in the new
Lucy, I
facility?
was just going to say, I think Lucy the ghost has already moved over there.
that's
so
good.
yes, don't worry, she'll be over there.
That's good. That's good. So, Roger, Judy, thank you very much for joining us here on this segment and sharing some insight with your experiences at the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. We got some more guests waiting in the wings. In the meantime, are you guys going to be looking forward to seeing some of the shows in 2019? All right.
Definitely, yes.
We've got Wheelhouse. They're performing when, Roger?
Roger?
David? I'm sorry, I'm getting my left and my rights confused here.
January 11th, Friday, January 11th. So they're going to be the second event in that building. They've performed in this building a couple times, and yeah, we've had sold out shows with them. So if you know Kenny Lizer, he's a local boy, grew up here. He's living in Madison now. And he actually just won an award for Best Violin Player in Madison. So that's the Madison Area Music Awards. So that's pretty impressive. And the band has won in the past also awards for Best Country and Bluegrass Band and Best Songwriting, because they've written some of their own music, and they actually came up to this stage and recorded one of their albums in this building.
That's right, yeah.
Yes.
And that's an album you can purchase today, I imagine,
Yep.
if you wanted to.
Yep.
The Wheelhouse, we're trying to get them to community comment on January 11th.
January 11th, the day of.
We've tentatively have a community comment scheduled in 3 weeks, live from the new Fine Arts Center, the afternoon or the evening that Wheelhouse performs. You think you could try to maybe get them to?
I'll work on it.
All right, let's
I
see
know
if we-
they're really excited to be one of the first groups performing in there.
That would be very exciting.
So hopefully they can come a little earlier.
If not, if Roger and Judy could put a little duo together, a little something, maybe retrospective.
A little scene
You
from
can tag.
Tally's Folly.
Little scene from Tally's Folly, if you could do that, that would be much appreciated. We're here live from the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater, the soon-to-be old Beaver Dam Area Community Theater on North Spring Street before the group moves to their $3 million facility over on Maple Avenue here. There's an open house coming up on the 29th. That's Saturday afternoon. We're going to get the details about that from the chair of the committee that's putting all that together. We're going to talk with one of the founding members of the community theater here and talk about the first round of auditions for the first main stage production. I think, if I have that correct?
Second.
No, I don't.
Second.
All right.
It'll actually be the first round of auditions taking place at the new facility.
That's what I meant.
Yes.
So what he said. David Sneeder here with us as well. I want to thank Judy Hine, Roger Knoll for joining us on this segment. We'll take a break and be back in just a few minutes. light on at the bottom? Yep, all right.
DailyDon.com. Time for more of today's community comments. Here again is your host, Craig Warmbold.
And we're video streaming live from the old Beaver Dam Area Community Theater building on North Spring Street, soon to be old Community Theater building. They still have one more performance here. They started, we learned just a few moments ago, with a kids performance downstairs in 1983. A lot of people think it was South Pacific that was the first show. It was technically that kids show. And then the final performance is going to be Beauty and the Beast, the kids doing a kind of a week-long event, a chance for them to learn and then perform all in a week's time. And we are here with somebody that has been at a few shows and been involved in the few shows, behind the scenes, on the stage once or twice.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, Diane Rebale, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And we're talking about all the mistakes I made in my preview for the program today. I said that it was a $3.5 million facility. It's $3 million. I'm sure Annette would be happy with $3.5 million, though, if we can get those final to make me right. If somebody could donate $500,000 in the next 45 minutes, I really would appreciate it. Annette says she would put it to good use. But also, you are here to talk about the first round of auditions at the new theater.
Yeah.
But it's not for the first main stage production. It's the second main stage production.
Right. Always Patsy Cline that Ryan Klug is doing is going to be prior to us. They get off the stage and we'll go on the stage.
Okay.
So, but we have auditions for Rumors, which is by Neil Simon, and that is going to be on January 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. And then we also have Saturday morning, the 5th, from 10 to 12. So our director is Alec Parsons. He is fairly new to us, but he's done a lot of theater, and he is a joy to work with. I'm really looking forward to this show. And then the show opens on March 6th with our preview night, and then we'll go into that weekend and the following weekend.
That's one of the things the community theater has always done. I mean, I'm sure this is no different than other community theaters, but people that are new to the community, new to theater, people that have been longtime veterans, this has always been kind of a good centralized location for them.
It is, and it's always a great opportunity to expand their horizons and to bring in new directors and producers and backstage people. I basically started back during Sound of Music as a walk-on cameo role that my dear friend Dan Bell got me into.
What year would that have been? Would
I
it have
have
been in this
no
building
clue.
here?
No, we were at the high school.
Oh, well, would it have been since this building has been open?
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Oh, yes.
all right.
Oh, yes.
So you've been a volunteer here for a couple years now.
Yeah, pretty close to 20 already.
All right.
I don't know where that time has gone. I
So
really don't.
you and Rick Ramirez started about the same time, if I'm not mistaken.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
So in the high school, you guys were going to the high school in the summer for your big shows even back then.
exactly.
That
exactly.
will not happen this summer. Will the summer show be at the Fine Arts Center?
We'll be able to be totally contained at the new facility.
Okay, so
Yep.
the summer show will be at the Fine Arts Center. You heard it here, maybe
Yes.
first.
Yes.
All right. But in the meantime, the second show, this would be the spring show, technically?
Technically, yeah, spring
Neil
show.
Simon's Rumors. Tell us about Neil Simon's Rumors. What's it about? What's the type of characters that you're looking for that would be trying out for this play?
All right, we need a total cast of 10, so it's 5 men, 5 women, although the 2 police officers can kind of go either way, so we're very flexible with that. It's basically a show that Neil Simon is a fantastic author, and unfortunately, we lost him this last year. But this show is kind of a murder farce comedy. Everybody's meeting at a house, and all of a sudden, the host has kind of disappeared, and the hostess can be not found anywhere. So it's a lot of ins and outs with all these people trying to cover up what's going on, so nobody knows that he possibly killed his wife, and it's just one of those really fun shows, and I'm really looking forward to this one.
Dark comedy.
Dark comedy, yeah, but there's a lot of laughs. I mean, Neil Simon, you can't go wrong.
Was Neil Simon's passing this past year part of the reason that you guys decided to go ahead with this play, or was it merely coincidence?
It was pure coincidence.
Okay.
Alec had proposed the show, and once they got it approved, then it moved forward. And I got called and said, "You want to help produce?" "Yeah, no problem."
How many people are you looking for?
10.
10 people, men, women, a little bit of a mixture, as
We
you
need 5
said
of each
there.
at least.
And what type of rehearsal schedule are you going to have? What do people need to block out of their schedules?
Right now, we're looking at Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
Alec doesn't really want to do weekends, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
So probably, I think 6, 7, somewhere in that time. We don't know that yet. A lot of it depends on the cast.
And it is not a musical.
No, it is not.
Right. Okay. And there are some people, there's a lot of musicals that take place here, but other people may not be vocally inclined, and so they would rather have something like this to be able to participate in community theater. This is right up their alley then.
Exactly. Because age-wise, it's very diverse. So, it's not so much for an 18-year-old, but, anybody, I would say, 25-ish and up
Okay.
would be great. But we're not going to turn you away if you come and audition.
All right. What are those show dates again for Neil Simon's Rumors?
March 6th is preview night, and then the 7th, 8th, and 9th. Oops, I just lied, didn't I, David? Let's try the 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then the 15th, 16th, and 17th.
All right. And the audition dates again?
January 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. and January 5th from 10 a.m. to 12 noon.
And are there materials that folks can look over in advance?
Yeah, it's going to be available at the library. In fact, I've just taken a couple scripts over there,
Okay.
so they can look at it then. You can also look online.
All right. And there's information at bdact.org if folks have questions?
You bet.
All right.
Yes,
Diane?
under the audition tab.
There's a separate audition tab
Tab,
there
yes.
at bdact.org.
Right.
Diane, leave us with your thoughts about this building that we're in today.
There's a lot of history here and a lot of memories for so many people. My very first show that I directed here was Over the Tavern, and that had been brought to me from Earl Ritter, who's another lifelong member. And our last show now was the Charlie Brown show in the fall. It was so hard, but yet awesome to see the entire cast and crew come up, do the last song, and there was a lot of tears. And, from that standpoint, yeah, it's small, it's intimate, but it's time to move. We need the space, and it was very hard to watch some of these people trying to come up these stairs. As you work, ushering or whatever, watching people with the stairs, they won't have to do that anymore. It's going to open up a whole new opportunity for us, and I see a lot more great shows coming.
Not the least of which is Neil Simon's Rumors. It's going to be on the stage in March. Auditions are taking place January 3rd from 6 to 8 and January 5th from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. And the auditions, again, are at the new community.
Yes.
And are you doing that right on the stage? Are you in a room? Because the place is so big.
We're still not sure yet.
All right,
We'll
all
have
right.
somebody at the front door figuring that out.
And it'll be the first auditions ever
Yes.
to be held at the new Fine Arts Center on Maple
Exactly.
Avenue. Diane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Diane Rebale, producer
Correct.
with Neil Simon's Rumors. We're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to talk to the folks with the grand opening committee. That grand opening it's an open house format. The public's going to be invited to attend that on Saturday, January 29th. What is that, 1 to? 3:30 to 5. So I was very close, 3:30 to 5 on that particular Saturday. And that's just in advance of the local vocals having the first performance at the Fine Arts Center on New Year's Eve. And then Patsy Cline is the second performance. And then the third performance
You
is
got it.
Neil Simon's Rumors. I think I've got it all down now. We'll be back here in just a few minutes. acting's experience there. Grand opening committee, or okay. Great. And we are video streaming here from the soon-to-be old Beaver Dam Area Community Theater building. You can go to dailydodge.com and find it under the video tab. Also, as always, you can listen to us under the audio tab. WBEV and WXRO are on there, but of course, community comment is here on WBEV. And we do want to thank our guests for joining us on this segment. David and I have, and Judy is back again for another round. We have two new guests with us today. Jeff Rayberg is the chair of the Grand Opening Planning Committee. Jeff, you got a big opening coming up here that we've been previewing.
We do, and we are really excited about it.
It's 3 to 5:30.
That's right, 3:30 to 5.
3:30 to 5. I'm zeroing in on it.
3:30 to 5 for the general public. So we hope that if you live in the Beaver Dam area and you're excited about what's happening in your community, that you get out and tour the building.
And also here with us is Annette Camps. She is, she doesn't like me saying it, but she's one of the founding members of this theater.
You can say it, that's okay.
Joining us here on the balcony at the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. Didn't look like this when you moved in '83, did it?
No, it didn't. And I was just reminiscing the first musical I directed, and I typically directed musicals because I was working during the school year and I had children. But the first musical I directed here was Annie.
Oh.
And interestingly enough, the first summer musical at the new theater will be Annie. And I remember vividly we had hundreds of kids audition for that show, and we double cast it. Even the dog was double cast. And we found out that our theater really couldn't hold the kinds of audience that wanted to come to our musicals, because we spent many hours taking calls to try to find a seat for people, and ultimately added several shows.
The response was that big from the community.
Yes, and I think that was the turning point that directed us to have the musicals at the high school, plus the fact that we wanted handicapped access.
Right, and that was a big driving factor in moving to the new Fine Arts Center, the doors of which will be opening 1 week from tomorrow for that grand open house. You mentioned kids in Annie and that performance. What has this theater meant to kids in this community over the years, would you say?
I think it's really indescribable. I can't imagine how many hundreds of children have stood on this stage and got their feet wet in theater, and there are investment in the future. So when Melinda Quinlan established Telltale Theater, around the time we moved in here, it was a very exciting new component to the theater. And a number of the children who grew up also went into careers for theater. But I think visually, I was always amazed. Judy Pierce directed so many of those shows, and she is the representative for the Council of the Telltale. I just visualize, even now as I'm looking from the balcony, all of the kids that they fit on that stage. and it worked. And there's, of course, no place to put them backstage, so they were all down in the basement and had to trounce up the stairs, so we'd have to keep them very quiet. But it was really an exciting venture, and I think that's another reason we have our new theater, the growth of Telltale and the interest in children. And Jeff probably can say more about this, but now
You're right, Annette. You're absolutely right. That Telltale Theater has just grown and expanded. I remember when Telltale was in its infancy, there were adults that were coming to the elementary schools and putting on plays for children while they were in the school. And then all of a sudden, from that, Telltale developed into, well, now we need productions that children can get involved in. And right now, we have productions that involve our elementary, younger students, our middle school children, and then within the last 2 years, We've even started
school
involving our high school group. So these are all performances that go up on a stage, and that's why we needed, additional space. And we all knew some of the challenges of this building that we're sitting in right now, because there were so many children who wanted to be part of our shows, and you do not want to turn children away. You want them to be included, and so our stage area was just filled with children, and that'll be so much easier to accommodate them in this new building. And that also, mentioned too, that when they're off stage, you got a lot of little jittery children, who are just so excited they can hardly contain it. And this backstage area here is very small, and the downstairs small, but in the new building, we'll be able to hold them in larger areas with intercoms so that they can get on the stage, when their entrances are made, and just have a much more smoother production.
Yeah, and there are a couple of other things I was thinking about as you were speaking. The new edition of the high school musical has drawn, thanks to Mark Beaver primarily, drawn young people from many communities around the area. So it really has proven the concept of area community theater.
I think last year you had 10 different high schools that were participating students from.
And then also, we just recently added the choir, the
Right.
young people's chorus. that you might
Right,
like
there's
to
a
talk about.
children's chorus that the BDACT is now sponsoring, and that group gets underway in early January with rehearsals, and they're going to be one of the first groups that's going to be performing in what we are calling Encore Hall, which is our second floor space in the new building, and they will do a small performance in March, and then a larger performance after they've really rehearsed a whole semester worth, and they'll do that in the main auditorium in May. So that children's chorus is up and ready to go. We've had a great turnout. People can still register for that children's chorus if they're interested by calling the Beaver Dam Community Theater or going on bdact.org.
So the Fine Arts Center grand opening is going to be, let's see if I get this right, Saturday the 29th from 3:30 until 5.
That's
Correct.
right. I had my fingers crossed, Craig, and you got it
I
right.
finally got it. What are folks going to see at the grand? What are they going to be able to do? What's going to be going on?
Oh,
You're the
it's
chair.
going to be so exciting.
What
It
can I
really
do that
is.
for?
When they enter, there'll be greeters there meeting them, providing them with a map as they wander and tour through the building. There's going to be location hosts on every floor and by every significant part of the building that's going to be able to explain to them what's going to currently happen in the building, perhaps tell a little bit of the history of where they were standing when it was a school and the transformation that occurred to bring it to a theater facility. So that'll be real interesting for people to learn more about the new Fine Arts Center.
Yeah, and I was involved in a conversation recently where someone asked, well, what is the auditorium going to be like? Are you going to have folding chairs? They are going to be so amazed and surprised at the conversion. It is truly a fine arts center in every respect of the word.
Did you have a grand opening in 1983 when the theater opened? I'm testing people's memories now.
Yeah, you're testing them. I don't really think so. I know we had a number of events here in the early years, especially. We had fundraising events. We had pancake breakfasts and spaghetti dinners, and all of that took place in that little basement downstairs, kind of like.
And a lot of volunteer events, weren't there? A lot of volunteer working events early on.
Volunteer events, exactly.
And that's the first auditorium, or first gymnasium in Beaver Dam, if I'm not mistaken. We're
yes.
sitting above right now.
Yes, it was. And the first production here, I don't know if you've mentioned that, was South Pacific, directed by Diane Lutz. So that was the first production in this building.
On the main stage.
On the main stage.
Judy will correct you and say that the first production was a children's production in the basement.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the main stage one was
Yeah.
the big one.
Yeah.
The big one. That's
I
right.
agree, because I directed one of those, the Pied Piper down in the
Okay,
basement.
yeah.
We rehearsed down there, and we did the show down there, and we did have folding chairs.
We hung curtains over the windows
Yeah.
because the light, they were all matinees.
Exactly. exactly.
Boy, this theater really has changed over the years, hasn't it? When you look out today, again, we're in the balcony, streaming live video at dailydodge.com, by the way. When you look out and you see the history that's been going on here over the last, was it 35 years? What do you think? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's done a beautiful job for us, you know, and I think people love this little theater because of its intimacy, and acoustically it's amazing, and aesthetically it has some lovely features. So, you know, it's a place in our history, but I think we're ready. I was just thinking too, the continuity of commitment. I mentioned Diane Lutz earlier. Well, her husband Patrick was always involved in building cassettes, and when we first moved in, we did not have any stage. It was just the altar. So Patrick, I believe, he was the main instigator of building that stage, and now he's over in the new building. I just went over there yesterday, and he and Gary Torek are working on the cover, the shield for the Orchestra Pit, and they have been there from the very beginning, from demolition on, with a commitment there. So continuity means something too. We rely on a core group of people who, you know, have an enormous commitment to the theater.
And there's always room for one more.
And
What I was just going to say,
always.
we've had a ton of volunteers, but we can always use more.
Exactly.
And it's not just being on stage, it's backstage, it's sewing, costuming, set building, finding props.
Chairs, getting all the chairs installed like Roger Knoll did. It's
Right.
Yep.
just all part of
Yeah,
it.
I think
Right
he
now
was,
it's cleaning, lots and lots of cleaning over at the other building.
yeah,
Drywall dust and paint and all that. There's people there every week, like Jeff here.
Well, as chair of the grand opening committee.
Scrubbing.
Tenacity is really a key word. Tenacity
It
of
is.
this community in Beaver Dam to support a local theater. It's just fabulous. And people, you know, have a dream and they stick with it, and they just hold on to that dream and that passion, and they contribute in whichever way that they can. People have volunteered in small ways. People have contributed with big sums of money. They've contributed after shows by throwing $1 in a hat. But all that is just an example of the tenacity that allows productions that are really well done to be produced and brought to the stage in this town.
I remember when we were getting started with fundraising, talking about the whole project, it was floating around there that we probably shouldn't fundraise for more than a year. Just hit it hard, get it done. And that was, what, 2011?
Peak
But
of the recession.
talk about tenacity. We were,
right.
well, we wanted to take advantage because during that same time,
Right.
you know, we were talking about the prices being high right now for materials and labor. And at that time, you know, it was a lot cheaper. People were looking for things to do. So we just felt if we could pull off the fundraising somehow, this would be a great time to invest in the theater.
And from beginning to end, I think we've invested about 10 years because we started looking for a new place around that time. And then originally, our fund drive was to remodel this building, to add additions and remodel this building. Even though, and because we could not find another place that seemed to be conducive to theater. So we had architectural plans, and we had started the campaign. We called it, what was it? Brand new place for a grand old place. Yes, yeah. Brand new space for a grand old place. And then when Scott Eberly brought our attention to the fact that the school was for sale, well, that definitely was a much more perfect opportunity to really expand and do the community well with that building. So
Let's talk for a moment about the impact that Scott Eberly has had in the community theater. He's the president of the board currently.
Right.
What has his role been in this new theater building?
He's also our production manager, our project manager. And so throughout the construction phase, he's been really intimately involved on a day-to-day basis, seeing that the contractors and the volunteers and people that are working on that whole development have really what would be called ducks in a row. You can't have part C of a project done until part A and part B are finished. So Scott's always been, you know, watching to make sure that, okay, when this contractor is ready to do that part of the job, that the preceding work is all done and done on time. And he's just been a real godsend watching that whole development.
And
heard
he's
him-
been volunteering all of that time as well. When you say project manager, he's not getting paid as project manager. He is
It's all
volunteering
volunteer.
his time, and he is there probably full-time.
Full-time volunteer position.
And he's an excellent example of how the theater attracts people and holds on to them. Because I believe we originally asked him to be on the board because of his business expertise. And then he, being Scott, he became engaged in learning the sound and lights and videotaping our shows, and more he got involved and committed to the theater. And he expounds the philosophy of the theater. I think he really has absorbed that in terms of its place in the community and how it serves the community. And he has certainly demonstrated a strong commitment to that.
And that tenacity is the same tenacity, I imagine, that made this theater a reality in 1983.
Absolutely.
Where are we at with fundraising for the new Fine Arts Center?
We need about $250,000 more. We've gotten to close to $3 million in terms of budget. We started with 2.4, but as anyone can imagine or experienced, there are costs that we don't know about until we get in there. And so I think, generally speaking, we've stuck pretty closely to the budget. But $3 million and $250,000 to go. So that represents a tremendous amount of community support.
And how could folks donate to the building fund at this point? Because the fundraising is still going on.
Fundraising will go on until we get that other $250,000, and then it'll probably go on in other ways as we see new needs, but it won't be as great as this need. So $250,000 to go, and you can contact David, right, David?
Yes, and you can go online for information at bdact.org. There are 345 seats in that new auditorium, and we are putting name tags on those seats. So there are two different levels. Closer you are to the stage, where people are more likely to be in those seats for every show. Those seats are being sponsored at $750. Further back is $600. So that's still a good thing. Some people ask me about floor tiles yet. Those were granite tiles that we have in our lobby. Those are cemented into our floor already. So that has unfortunately come and gone, but that was a great fundraiser.
Yeah, just yesterday, Scott Eberly received quite a sizable donation from someone who wanted to be part of, the whole theater effort, and they had donated funds to purchase handicap seating. And so we were really happy to receive that. So by no means is it ever too late. We encourage, any types of donation, whether that be in kind or work or, contributions.
Yeah, we actually have a concert grand piano that we're going to have at the theater, and that is coming from Rick Ramirez, who has dynamic tuning in town. He was able to find this piano. It was kind of in rough shape, so they didn't necessarily find somebody who wanted to take on that project, but Rick was willing to take on the project of basically restringing it, fixing it up, and making it possible so that we could have a concert grand piano. It's a beautiful, gorgeous looking piano. It was like a high-end piano, late 1800s. So he's checking into the history of it because contacting the company, they said, this isn't a middle-class family that would have owned this piano back in the late 1800s. So we're excited to see what Lord and Lady had owned this piano at one point. But we're going to have a very cool-looking piano, hopefully great-sounding piano by the time he's done fixing it up. I don't know if that'll be ready by grand opening, but sometime in the future, hopefully for the kids' choir or something, we can have that out and on display on stage.
He's another example. He walked in for an audition for Any Color about 20 years ago, and he's been integrally involved ever since. So if you are interested in the theater, beware, you might get addicted.
Careful what you ask for.
Well, and speaking of that, there's actually an email for Kim Doyle is the coordinator for the volunteers and the building manager here at this building, and Jim Geed is the building manager at the new Fine Arts Center.
Yes.
But if you are interested in any way in volunteering in any way, shape, or form, whether it's helping to clean or getting involved in a show, I believe it's volunteer at
BDACT.org.
BDACT.org. Yeah, it's a simple email to remember, and you can get in touch with Kim, and she will get back to you.
And her email is listed under Contact Us on the web page as well.
Excellent.
All right, before we wrap things up here, David is going to go through a list of the 2019 events that are going to be taking place at the new Beaver Dam Area Community Theater's Fine Arts Center on Maple Avenue. Again, the grand opening is Saturday, December 29th from 3:30 until 5 p.m. at the facility over on North Spring Street. I believe I know I got something in the mail. I believe if you go to bdact.org, there's going to be some information on where to park for events, not just the grand opening, but local vocals and other things that are going on.
Yes, there's a little bit of a map there, and that's going to be refined as we go on as well. But for parking, obviously, there's a lot of public lots around the building that will be accessible for parking. And then also a lot of businesses around our building have also said it's okay if we are not in business hours, you can park in our parking lot, so the bank, et cetera. The one right across the street, most accessible, unfortunately, is Family Video, and absolutely they have business same hours that we have, so they would like it if we do not park in front of their business because they have their own customers to worry about. But a lot of parking around the building, so don't worry about parking.
And there's just a
we'll
great-
have a drop-off area as
Yeah,
well.
and
Is
there's
that
a
what you were
great
saying?
drop-off area. If folks come off of Center Street, go right past Church Health Services up the alleyway in the back. You can stop right parallel to the theater, let your senior folks off. There's a sidewalk. They can walk right up the sidewalk into the south windowed entrances, and they are on ramps all the way to their seat.
And soon you'll have the dry cleaner to the east that'll be raised by the city and turned into a city parking lot. Not in time for the grand opening, but here in coming months.
That's what we understand.
So if you would, David, without further ado, what's going on at the Fine Arts Center in 2019?
Okay, I had to get my list out because there's a lot. We figured if we're going to have a brand new building, we better pack it full of events, right? So we're starting with the grand opening, as you said. What time, Craig?
It is 3:30 to 5 p.m.
Yes, yes. And then New Year's Eve, local vocals starting at 9 o'clock. Yes, we will be up and we'll be rocking and partying past midnight. So come on out. There's going to be lots of food available along with your ticket. So come hungry. January 11th is the popular band Wheelhouse from Madison with local boy Kenny Lizer. Best violin player, just won that award in Madison, so come out and hear him. We have a children's theater camp, that's Beauty and the Beast. That's going to be happening at this building. So we started with Telltale Children's Theater, and we end with Children's Theater at this building. After that is Always Patsy Cline. That's going to be a great, fantastic show. Great way to start off the year with a major production. Upstairs, we've been talking about the Encore Hall, and we're going to have a group from Madison called Monkey Business Institute, and that's an improv group. Dan Lansness is associated with that group. He's part of this theater, probably seen him on stage, so he's bringing them in. Rumors is going to be in March. That is the show that Craig just talked with Diane about for auditioning for, so please come on out and audition. That's going to take place over at the BDACT Fine Arts Center, both the auditions and the show. April, Local Vocals is going to be coming back, and that's going to be fan favorites, where we are going to have a nice big list of songs, and the audiences get to choose which songs they hear that night. They'll have a form, and you get to circle your favorite songs. So each night could potentially be a very different performance. So come to all of them. After that, we've got another major production. That's A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. I think that's been done in this building before.
Yes.
Do you remember what year that was?
I have the list here somewhere. I think it was directed by Diane, maybe in the late 70s, early 80s, somewhere in there.
Okay, so it's time for a funny thing happened on the way to the forum again. Good funny show. We'll really get to use the pit orchestra for that one and fill up the pit and have that auditorium full of music. Then is the children's chorus concert that is coming up that Jeff helped get started. So we're looking forward to that. Mark Lefebvre for the area high school production is Newsies. We're expecting that one to be huge because that's a Disney favorite that was recently off Broadway not that long ago, and a movie hit from the 80s. Annie is what Net was talking about before. We don't have the titles yet for our children's telltale theater of middle school and elementary, but that's coming soon. I know we have some proposals coming in for that. Annie is being directed by Rick Ramirez. That's going to be happening in August. So that's our typical summer musical production. So make sure you come out for that. Spotlights, the group, the musical group that is going to be performing in Encore Hall. They're looking at September for that. And then right after that is the Laramie Project, which is directed by Rich Zeman. That will be next October. And we're looking for a Christmas production. We have some proposals for that, and then we're on to 2020.
Wow.
So, whew.
A lot going on in the
Yeah,
the
and I'm
first
sure
year.
there's
That's
going to
partial
be
list.
rentals and things in between there yet. So,
We just have a few
keep
minutes left
keep an
here.
ear out.
If you could, Jeff, wrap up your
Yeah.
final thoughts with a push for this grand opening that's taken place, if you could.
The grand opening, it's really an opportunity to get to tour the whole facility. You're going to see backstage areas. You're going to see, the main areas, auditoriums, the lobby, the Encore Hall, where the public will always, be a part. But for the grand opening, you're going to get to see some of the spots that in the building that normally the general public doesn't get a chance to view. And this whole grand opening is really just a great celebration for this community. It's our opportunity to thank everyone for whatever contribution at whatever level that they've made. We're showing our appreciation. We're celebrating as a community. We're going to show you what can happen when you revitalize, a building, restore it, rather than just, tear it down, what someone's vision and passion can do to create a whole new space. It's so exciting. See you there.
Judy?
If you can't make the grand opening, if you're traveling, holidays, whatever reason, and you want to come in and see the facility, we're actually going to start having some box office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, starting January 3rd. So you can go in during that time. They'll help you with tickets. You can drop off costume, prop donations, sign your children up for classes. And you can also go in and say, hey, I'd like a tour, and Scott Eberly is willing to once a week give some tours. So you can go in and sign up for a tour with Scott if you can't make the grand opening.
All right. Good things to keep in mind. Thank you, David. Judy, your final thoughts here in this historical building.
Well, the excitement about the grand opening is exciting for me as being a member of that committee also because if you asked me to plan a grand opening for this building, which I have my heart and soul in, I could do it in my sleep. But the excitement comes that we don't even know what to expect for this new building. So we've been meeting several times to make sure that this just comes off without a hitch. I guess in hindsight, I mentioned that my heart will always be here, but you can always have your heart in other places. And so it was kind of like this place was, I love pizza, so this place was a nice pizza, and the next place is just going to be a bigger slice of that same type of pizza, the same people, the same feelings, everything about it. It still has an intimacy. I was just in there the other night, and I was really happy that I didn't feel like I was in some big hole of an auditorium. It still has that intimacy. So I'm really, really excited about the new place too.
And we are going to give the final words today to one of the founding members of the Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. I know she loves it when I say that. Wrap it all up for us, if you would.
Well, I guess the most exciting part for me in walking into the new theater is it's such a total expression of community support. I saw it start with just a few people, in Harvey, with no money and no budget, and just constantly involving through the commitment of community people, not only on stage, behind stage, integrally involved, but all of those who have supported us through the years with their patronage and their enthusiasm. And this is a rarity. A community theater doesn't usually have the opportunity to do this and to have that kind of support.
Well, I'd like to thank you for letting me be part of the show today, quite honestly, in these final
Well,
days
thank you
of
for hosting.
Thank you,
the
Craig.
program. It's, there's been a lot of interesting things that have taken place in the theater, and I'd like to thank you for inviting me to do some of those things, Annette. I know we've been involved in a number of productions over the years, and it's been wonderful working with all of you, Judy and Jeff and David. And I wish you guys the best of luck in your new Fine Arts Center. Again, the grand opening is the 29th. We're hoping in next month, maybe 3 weeks from today, doing a community comment program just like this, but from the Fine Arts Center. David is doing all the heavy lifting on that one, so I trust it'll be an amazing show.
Spectacular.
We'll be looking forward to that, and we do want to thank you guys all again for joining us. Again, want to thank everybody that joined us today. Roger Knoll, Rick Ramirez, Diane Rebale, help me if I'm forgetting anybody, Cheryl Zeman stopped by, Judy Hine, David Sineater, Annette Camps, Jeff Rayberg, to everybody that's been involved in the theater over the years. We look forward to seeing you in the new facility on Maple Avenue. That is going to do it for today's Community Comment.